guys, I'm Andrei, a certified tour guide in Minsk, Belarus. Right now I'm about 1 hour away southwest by the village of Rubezhevichy. It's Stolpce area now. It used to be the border town by the Soviet Republic of Belarus. Until 1939 this place was under the control of Poland, and I'm here to untangle the genealogy of Karnicki family and to hear a local that can share some stories of her ancestors about how life was. The area I'm in used to be a farm. It's still sitting on an isolated piece of land. The lady here keeps some animals, and the house still reminds of a pretty grand way of life that the family had. Not all the families were super rich in the Polish times, but many that had their own land actually were quite well off. Today I'm going to ask her some questions about how things were, how life was. Maybe we'll get you some pictures of the neighborhood, of the village life, and we'll try to fill some blanks in the Karnicki genealogy. The helpful locals have taken me to the site of the former farm of Karnicki. The bridge out there is like from a survival show. We'll find out if it's solid enough in a couple of moments. And the leftovers of the house. The manor of Karnicki is just across the river. It's not much of a river, but with some gear on me, I still have to take some effort to cross it. To be honest guys, genealogy at times has very steep turns. We're almost there. The house outline is just behind the bush. In the 1930s, times that are known as Polish times in our history books, people here own their own land, had their own gardens here, pretty upscale properties, farm stables in there, threshing floors. Houses were much more solid than in the east. All this was lost in 1939. Apparently this was the old orchard. These trees must be very, very, very old. The architecture suggests this was a shed. You can see that the basement rocks are really cool. And this is an old-time refrigerator, guys. A very big structure. The household was big, the family was big, so the supplies for the family and everywhere was here.
Дальше, наверное, ее там раскидали. Там печка. Здесь, ну, стоят, как называется, такая печка.
Группка.
Да, было. Чавенькие такие. Насколько я помню. Наверное, сбрасывали мусор в сторону. Птички какие-то.
This is exactly where the house was. The family was popular, so there were actually two houses on the premises. This is where the other part lived. But it's a newer foundation. One of the trickiest passes I have ever undertaken this year. My local guide Janina, she's in her 60s. She was a kid when she was visiting this place. Her farm is 10 minutes ride away, 10 minutes drive. Здесь вот тропиночка. But she can find a path of her own. We've crossed this creek, a river actually, which flows through Rubezhevichy. I think the name is Perikul. It flows into Sula and then the Nyaman. The Nyaman goes into the Baltic Sea. And this is where the family lived. With all the modern hardware around and the noises, this place is still quite private, quite quiet. It's really interesting to imagine how the whole family lived in a place which they maybe left once in a weekend for a service in Rubezhevichy church. We'll go there now and take a few quick shots out there. This is a really old house, probably built before the war. What's so exciting is the old-time design. Cattle was based in the back there. The whole thing went in one line to make most of the arable land that the family had. And the living quarters are here, overlooking the street. Some of the houses still have old sheds in the back of the courtyard. You'll see on the right there's a gate. This was for the carriage and the cattle. Maybe a horse, definitely a horse. In the old days one needed a horse to plow the garden. And the house is by the road, as always. In the old days, at the end of a village, there'd be larger structures that were threshing floors. They were associated with socialization. Young people used to date each other. The best you can expect now is one of these store rooms, cellars. We've just seen the stone shell across the river. This is what it looks like when it's functional. Now, looking at this, you can imagine the routine of a housewife 100 years back, maybe even 60. An early morning wake up, fetch the supplies from here, get the stove started, cooking. The well surely looked different. The house has been abandoned for a while. The electric lines aren't leading to the building. To the left, I could guess this was a hay shed. And this is the most classical living house to our right. What I have learned so far is not necessarily a dead end in the genealogy tree of Karnicki. They lived there, there were two brothers. I'll have to establish the names either through the elders, there aren't too many around, but I'll have to place some phone calls. Another lead is the church birth books. For Rubezhevichy church, Catholic church, they're quite thin, but there are still some available in the priest's house. So if we get the birth year of that grandmother that we are interested in, an inquiry can be placed as well. So let's find out what we can. Right now I'm walking around the village of Hniecki. This was once a busy place, it seems, and some of the houses are still the classical peasant houses that were 70 or 100 years back. By the shed, a pragmatic Belarusian peasant, or a Polish one, always had something he used later. A piece of wood, a ladder that had to be dry to extend the service life, and some other things. The obvious shortcoming of the field genealogy is that by the time I'm here to ask any questions, the people who can answer them are either very much gone or are elsewhere location-wise, maybe just their sons and daughters around, maybe only for the summertime. So it's essential to start asking questions as soon as possible. It never works this way, does it? We'll continue looking into this family tree. This was Andrei from the lovely village of Hniecki, Western Belarus. Press a like if you enjoyed it, and hope to see you here someday when the troubles pass, maybe next summer. Cheers.